welcome to Daikaiju Network, where we are the longest running Daikaiju podcast to date.
And I think we just had the
Today,
longest wait time too.
today, we are doing a commentary on 1993's Jurassic Park. And the reason why I am behaving the way that I am is that if I don't know if anyone can tell or not, I am on my wife's laptop. And the reason for that is that can you leave the room for a moment? Please, I will let you know when it's safe to come in. My motherfucking cocksucking dick licking butt fucking goddamn son of a bitch laptop decided to not work. Why is anyone's guess? Because I ordered stuff off of Amazon before I came on here. I had this, well, not this, but my computer down in the family room earlier, and I was roaming email, Facebook, Amazon, etc. Just fine. And for whatever reason, I shut it down. I shut it down properly, came up here, plugged it in, and Jason is my witness. For whatever reason, it decided to go complete wackadoo on me.
Basically ape shit.
Yep. And I punched it. So-
He practically punched it to where the screen is all broken.
I punched it. And my wife said that's not appropriate. And so I'm on her laptop doing this podcast because I'm such a sad son of a bitch.
Okay, let's move on here.
But we're doing Jurassic Park, and so we'll get into that in a moment. Come on in, Lincoln. I'm sorry, I forgot about you. So, Jason, do you have any stuff you need to take care of here before we proceed here?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that everyone hit the subscribe button as well as like all of our videos on the streaming platforms that we're on. From this time forward, we're going to be exclusively on YouTube and Twitch. And we also have the audio version of our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn. And you can also watch any of our videos and listen to all of our podcasts. You can also watch us live as well via Twitch on our website at daikaijunetwork.com.
So, we're doing 1993's Jurassic Park. This is a movie in which, if you are a millennial or zillennial or however people are defining you for our generation, I've heard 3 or 4 different ways in which people are describing our generation. And to be perfectly honest with you, I've gotten to the point to where I don't care because I was birthed and that's about it. So that's about all that I care. So Jurassic Park for our generation, you and I are mid to late 30s. And for our generation, this was a defining film in which for Gen X, it was Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, So this is a movie in which you had picked for our commentary for this particular episode. And
Well, yeah, I originally picked it just to kind of get you out of the funk from Ultra Seven, but it seems
yes,
like
thank
it
you though.
didn't
Thank you
quite
though.
work out, especially with the spontaneous accident or incident that you
No, no,
just
no, no,
had.
no, 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 no. I'm not. No, 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 no. And as you know, I'm not blaming you. I did not blame you for the computer. As you know, I was mad at the computer. As you saw, I punched that computer. You saw it. You are my witness. And as my wife said, that was inappropriate. So, like, give me a second here. I need to take a drink of my alcoholic. As we both did there. I'm slurring my speech a little bit already. Um, so, can I say something here about Jurassic Park for a moment?
I suppose.
Okay. Um, for those who are not able to see the video portion, I had a sort of a sarcastic moment there for a second. Um, Jurassic Park is a movie in which I do really enjoy. And I do appreciate the fact that it was sort of from a cinematic standpoint, a defining moment for our generation, right? It
Hmm.
was a film that not just for our generation, but for generations of all time, present and future, to show that dinosaurs were these hot blooded, very active creatures, right? They were not the sluggish, tail dragging, um, lizard sprailing, limbed individuals that we have seen from previous films. You and I, for example, did Planet of Dinosaurs what, about a month ago, right?
Yep.
Um, that was a movie that um sort of showed some of those discrepancies in the fact that dinosaurs, specifically theropod predators, drag their tails, right?
Hmm.
And even for a brief second in the early portion of the movie when we saw a brontosaurus, its head was upright and its tail was lying upon the ground, right? That was the science of the time. That science is incorrect, as we have found out over time. Um, Jurassic Park changed all of that. It showed us that dinosaurs were more active. They were um, more upright, if not more horizontal, in the case of the T Rex, for example, in terms of how they stood and how they walked, etc.
Hmm.
Um, Not only that, they were smarter. And I think to some example, though, I hate to say this, but I think it's true to some extent. The intelligence, quote unquote, for those who are listening to the audio version of this, um, the intelligence of some of the dinosaurs. Hello, honeybee. Oh, hi. How are you? I love you. I want you to make a nest in my honey house there. I'm sorry. Um,
Yeah, don't get distracted.
um, the fact that some of these dinosaurs are more intelligent than what they actually are, I think, is hyperbolic. Dinosaurs, I do believe, are very intelligent, but not to the degree that some of them are portrayed. in this film or any subsequent Jurassic Park films, if that makes sense. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So I also want to get this off my chest before we begin. The more I thought about Jurassic Park, and the last time I saw this movie was in the summer of 2016 in its entirety. The more I thought about this film, do I sound like a dumbass to you? Do I do I sound like a dumbass?
You sound like a drunkard.
Perfect. Um the more I thought about this film, the more I've begun to wonder if this movie is indeed the classic, the special defining moment. Are you okay? That's my son. The defining moment film that it is for us millennials, xenials, whatever you want to call us, that Star Wars was for Gen X, if that makes sense. Because the more I've thought about this film, here's the thing about Jurassic Park, and I may spoil some things for those of you who may not have seen this film at this point, which, by the way, how dare you? Um, to me, the best part of Jurassic Park is about the philosophy of bringing back lives that had previously lived but are now extinct. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And do those prehistoric lives have rights? Do they have a right to food, water, shelter, love, protection, etc., right? Like what you would give to a child, right? A newborn baby, right? Does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So you bring forth a new life. Do these creatures who have been extinct for 65 plus million years, do they have the same rights that we as human beings have given ourselves to? Now, granted, look, I understand I am treading on water that is um, currently going on in today's political system. As of right now, as of May 7th, 2022. I understand. I don't want to explore that right now. I don't want to do that because that's not what we're here to do. Okay. That's a totally different podcast. That's a different thing that we're going to explore. But in terms of dinosaurs, okay, do they have the same rights that we do, right? Um, and I think Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom tries anyways. And we'll get to that when we cover that. I think Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom tries to cover that in its own way. Not only that, but do creatures that are not only 65, 66 million years extinct, but also mutated with frog DNA and other reptile DNA in order to bring themselves to pass, to bring themselves to fruition. Do they have the same rights that any other living creature has, including ourselves. The discussion that is had within this film, most particular, I think is the best, other than part 5, which is Fallen Kingdom. Some people hate it, but when we get to that film, I will argue that it is one of the best films in the series. Um, one of the arguments that is had in this particular film that is had is whether or not those creatures have rights to live. And I think, in my personal opinion, that is one of the things that has made this film so enduring over the last 2.5 decades. And to be perfectly honest, for myself personally, I'm not saying anybody else. For myself personally, it's made me wonder if this film is as good as so many people have claimed it to be. Because while I do believe this film, in terms of how it portrays dinosaurs, is important, I don't think it's necessarily as important as so many other people of my generation have claimed it to be, simply because of the fact that it has spectacular, sparkly new effects for the dinosaurs that um that while the portrayal of the dinosaurs is new for the time, it, as far as its overall theme, in a general sense, if this makes any sense, um, is as important as what we face today in contemporary times in 2022, even in 1993. I know in 1993 when Michael Crichton, he didn't write the story in 1993, he wrote in 1989, um, was looking at genetic um, um, mutations and stuff like that. And I still believe that DNA manipulation and all that is still very much.
Can we
am-
just
am-
wrap up?
I'm trying to. My point is that um, I think what we have here for Jurassic Park is a philosophical standoff. It's about whether or not creatures that have been long extinct have a right to live. Okay. Can I get your agreement on that?
I suppose.
Yes or
Um,
no?
I mean, it's. I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to
Yeah,
say.
exactly. See, Jason's standpoint here is exactly what this film stands at, because um you have Richard Attenborough. I think it's Richard Attenborough who plays the CEO of Jurassic Park. Forgive me because I'm a little drunk here. Um,
That's why we need to wrap up here.
I know. He is the CEO of Jurassic Park. He is the one that's like, let's bring dinosaurs back to life. And then you have Ellie Sattler later that tells him, like, no, like, this was not a good idea. And that's sort of the conflict of the whole movie. And in a roundabout way, that's sort of the conflict of part 2, part 3, give or take. I mean, we'll cover those movies when we cover them. Um, and I think that's what makes this movie special, but at the same time, it makes it not as special because I think its conflict is um, not as unique now in 2022 as it was in 1993. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Because we have gone through enough, to put it simply, crap to sort of figure out where we sit. So, with that being said, because of limitations, we're going to watch this version of Jurassic Park on HBO Max. Okay. We are approximately 5, 6 seconds into this thing here. And so, Jason, do you have any things you want to add to this before we start here?
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a. I can't remember the last time I watched the movie. I know I've seen bits of it sparingly over the years, but as far as watching it all the way through, I honestly can't remember the last time I've seen this movie. But I know I have seen it. I can still remember seeing it in theaters uh, with our sister at the time uh, when it came out in '93. I think it was in some local theater there at a town that we lived at in
Marshalltown.
Iowa years ago, and yeah, it was quite the event during that time, and I can remember like all the marketing stuff and toy commercials for it, and I still have one of the the T Rex figures where the side part like piece gets ripped off or something like that. You see kind of the inside of the side there. Um,
It was, I remember the commercial. It was the young T Rex. Like, it was something. I remember the commercial. The young T Rex gets a piece out of its side, or something like the guy said of the commercial. Like, the young T Rex gets a piece out of its side. Like, he said something to that effect. Like,
yeah, and I was just washing. Was it one of the cups upstairs? I think it was from McDonald's or something. And I actually have one of the plastic cups of Jurassic Park, where like the three leading people in the movie standing kind of squatting right next to the Triceratops there, and then on one of the sides when you kind of twirl
Malcolm,
around.
Sattler, and Grant.
Yeah, yeah, and when you kind of turn the cup, it'll have the info on the Triceratops, and then show a little bit of the island and stuff.
That's fucking great, dude. Hi, Hershey. That's my cat. For anybody who's listening to the audio version. Hi, Hershey. My little
so,
my little girl kitty. So
so other than that, got really nothing else.
yeah, I'm glad you brought up the theatrical um experience, because that was something I was going to bring up too. I don't remember if it was opening weekend or the second weekend, but it was one of those first two weekends in which we saw this film. And I remember it. I'm not kidding. I remember it clear as day, in which, because the people that sat directly in front of me were pretty tall people. So I sat on top of the folded part of the chair. So, you know how those chairs fold up.
Yeah.
When the chair folded up, I sat on that folded part of the chair so I could see the screen, because this was before most theaters decided to um,
Do that.
construct their
Kind of do that
theaters.
stadium seating thing.
Right, yeah. And so if you sat behind someone that was taller than you, unless you sat like on the edge of your seat, literally, as the seat folded, you were fucked.
Yeah.
So R rated, by the way, this podcast. Um um So I remember that's how I spent the majority of the movie watching it. Okay. And a part and memory if memory serves me correct, I was okay with that. Um but this movie did enthrall me. Here's the thing though. Even back in 1993 as a very impressionable 8, 9-year old, um I was not while I was impressed, I was not overly enthralled, if that makes sense. Meaning that I thought the dino action was lacking, which is true. But at the same time, as an older adult, I can appreciate the science and some of the aspects that were being presented at the time. As an 8 and 9-year old, I could not appreciate some of the philosophical arguments that were being had at the dinner table that we will see here in like, I don't know, 40, 45 minutes into the movie. Um, that I can now. Okay. Um, and with that being said, I still think Jurassic Park is still a very important film. Do I still think it's as important as some make it out to be? Yes and no. I still think it's important in that its representation of dinosaurs is important in that dinosaurs are very active, hot blooded, active creatures. But at the same time, it's a bit dull in that it doesn't provide you with enough dinosaur action to really present that idea. So I'm on the fence. To me, as of this moment in time, as of this recording on May 7th, 2022, I still think something like Jaws is more important of a cinematic experience than Jurassic Park. And I love Jurassic Park. Do not get me wrong. I still think it's one of Spielberg's most important films. I still think it's one of cinema's most important films. I just don't think it's as important because I think this film indulges itself with its philosophy, if that makes sense, than anything else. So I'm ready to start the movie here.
Yeah, I've been waiting for like the last half hour. Or like an hour and a half. So let's get this fucker going, please.
So we're on HBO Max because Jason is poor. Um, we're
How
about
am I
five
poor
six
when I'm
seconds
paying for
in.
HBO Max?
We're about 5, 6 seconds in on HBO Max. So that's right before the Universal logo will pop up here. All right. So anybody who is not familiar with us, I will go 3, 2, 1, go. Once I say go, you hit play on your player. So here we go. 3, 2. Fuck you, Jason.
Let's go.
1, go.
All right, go over
Oh
to
wow,
the
this is
commentary cam.
wow, this is pure 1993. I was not expecting that. I was expecting like
Yeah,
contemporary.
it's not quite the was it the late '90s or the 2010 Universal intro.
Oh shoot, do I have the volume up here? Not loud enough. There we go. By the way, my son is joining us. He's never seen this first Jurassic Park movie.
Well, I hope he enjoys it.
He's very excited about it. Yes, son.
Seen some like weird drawing video of it, the ending where he like fights the two raptors.
Don't worry about it. I remember watching this, and I thought when I first saw this on VHS, look, again, we first saw this in theaters, and when I saw it on VHS, I thought, oh, the T Rex head's gonna come through. Like, even in the short period of time, my mind thought, hey, something different is gonna happen from what is actually happening.
Just kind of the way how those branches and stuff were kind of moving around and things, and just the aesthetic of how with it being the early '90s here, it sort of reminded me of E.T. I don't know, in a way.
Here's the crazy thing, Jason. We are nearly 30. Let me let me express that more. 30 years from when this movie premiered.
Well, and just think about it too that this year marks 30 years that we started, uh, watching our very first Godzilla film.
I'm not worried about that right now. I'm worried about Jurassic Park right now.
Yeah, but I just wanted to point that out too. The one
the
thing,
the
if it with those being velociraptors, I don't know how, with a small species as velociraptor is, with how heavy that whole gate thing or container is, that it was able to move it.
You brought up the biggest problem I have ever had with this movie, even when I first saw this in movie theaters, was how in the world did that dinosaur, for as small as it was, able to move that container far apart enough from the wall it was connected to bring that guy in? You brought up the exact same problem I have had even from the very beginning I have ever saw this film. That is the one thing that I've ever had with this movie in terms of problems. But then again, some people may think I'm a total jerkwad, but whatever.
Even though that this scene right here, I think it said that's in Dominican Republic, it makes it sort of looks like the Amazons there.
Sort of, yeah. By the way, you know, I can't speak for Jason, but I know from my personal experience in terms of researching this film, originally they were looking to do stop motion animation for this movie. Um, it's amazing that they didn't do that because obviously CGI was good enough at the time to where they could do the dinosaurs. The Abyss from a few years earlier proved that they could um, do more elaborate um what's the
Well,
term I'm looking for?
not only that, but T2 or Terminator 2 as
Well,
well.
that, but then also, like, what's the term I'm looking for? Um what's the term? Like um uh like like complicated type of animation. That's not the term I'm looking for, but like, more complicated animation, that sort of thing as well. This movie, um, outside of the fact that it showed dinosaurs in a different light, was able to animate them in a way that was different from what we've seen before, which is stop motion animation. By the way, you're going to face a Giganotosaurus about like 25 years later. Spoilers.
Or about 30 years.
That's about. Yeah, that's true, actually. Not 20 years, because this is what, 93? Yeah, Giganotosaurus wouldn't have been around. I would have just been graduating high school at that time. I
And
remember
then
this back in the day.
and then also every time I think about this scene, it always kind of reminds me of the was it the PBS
Yeah,
dinosaur stuff that they had from long ago. I forget the name of that
the
particular.
dinosaurs.
Oh, okay.
No, look, I'm serious when I say this. I watched that series this week. I downloaded that and I have that on my own personal DVD collection. Even 30 years later, it's still one of the most accurate dinosaur documentary series you can find today.
and then
I I'm not kidding.
and then speaking of dinosaur documentaries, uh, HBO Max here also has that. I think it was Discovery that did it years ago, Walking with Dinosaurs. They've got that on here as
That was
well.
like 1999 if I remember. This guy here, he played Pugsley in the Addams Family movies.
This kid here.
Yes.
But yeah, I can remember him and a few other things. I think it was like the Nickelodeon TV shows from years ago. I think they always kind of casted him as like a bully or something.
When Nickelodeon was actually pretty good.
When it was the shit back in the day when they had the
Yeah.
Rugrats and oh gosh, Gumby.
Wubbiest World of Dr. Seuss.
Ren and Stimpy. Oh gosh, and
Hey, don't get me
Real
started.
Monsters Are
Don't
Real.
get me started.
Or Monsters Are Real. Yeah, there's
Real
just
monsters.
yeah, yeah. There's just so many good stuff in, and even some of the game shows that they have with like Legends of the Hidden Temple.
You giving
Double
me
Dare.
cardiac arrest there. My heart, my beating heart. Here's the thing. I mean, look, people of my generation love this movie, and I understand why. Because not only did it present dinosaurs in a more hot-blooded, active mode, um, it just was one of those defining moment films, like a Star Wars was to Gen X. I'm sorry, but the more I've thought about this movie over the years, I'm like, meh, but I'm like, yeah, it's still good. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. It's still good. I'm just not quite sure if I wanted to put it in that defining moment category. Maybe, maybe not. Um, but look, here's the thing. Regardless, this still is a very good movie. This is still a very competent film that has incredible acting, incredible storytelling. One of the things, especially if you're older and you are able to understand the arguments presented in this film, the arguments that are presented later in this film, especially when they have dinner here and, like, I don't know, within the first 30, 45 minutes of the film, whenever it is, those are the most important moments of this film. That's when you get the meat and potatoes of what this movie is about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, rub it in, why don't you? I
Well,
have money, but not that much.
well, because he's rich.
Hey, you know what? Alan Grant. That's how I thought back in the day. I'm serious. That's how I thought back in the day.
I'm sure you did.
I did, yes.
But yeah, was it the kind of the spiel that you had before when we watched, started watching this, about the philosophical thing, and then bringing, uh, you know, a swath of species from 65 or so million years ago. Uh, there was like some kind of poll that I just briefly saw a couple times where it was related to Jurassic Park, with the most recent movie coming here in a month actually, uh, where people were polled that was it 60% or so it would be a bad idea to actually have actual dinosaurs being made, kind of like how Jurassic Park did.
That's a no shit Sherlock moment.
This here, for some reason, I'm getting vibes of one of the scenes from, was it Full Metal Jacket? I don't know why.
Can I be very frank with you for a moment? This guy, Dodson, who's carrying the bag and is going to talk to Wayne here,
Or
he was
Newman.
charged with pedophilia.
Oh, really?
I'm not joking.
Well, I'm not really surprised because
I am not joking.
I'm not going into the whole thing, but it's Hollywood.
The thing is that my understanding is if they have his character in the next film that's going to come out here in another month or so, he's recasted because this MFer is a pedophile. I'm not joking.
Well, like I said, I'm not
I know.
surprised.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I thought that was the can, but it was his laughter. Like for many years, I thought it was his laughter that did that. No, but it was the can. Yeah. Ooh, shots fired.
And
The problem.
the other
The
thing.
problem. No,
Let
go
me.
ahead.
Okay. The thing about this movie is the soundtrack. I really like the soundtrack a lot on this one.
Isn't it John Williams?
Yep,
Is it John
John.
Williams?
Yeah, John Williams. Because John Williams, he was mainly kind of the go-to for Spielberg as well as Lucas.
Dun, 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 dun. Bun, dun, dun, dun. Anyone who doesn't know that is a complete dork. That's Star Wars. Um, but yeah, like, you know what? I lost my train of thought.
Good. Jeff Goldblum gonna Jeff Goldblum.
He played The Fly. Did you ever see The Fly? I'm sure you saw The Fly.
Yeah, towards the end, yeah.
Yeah.
Only that part.
What a complete disturbing movie.
Well, yeah, because the only thing that I can remember him mostly seeing the part of is where he brings out like the acid and stuff, and was it melts the one guy's hand off.
No. You and I remember the same thing, except he spits out like acid on the guy's like ankle. Like he spits it out on this guy's ankle that detaches his foot, and yeah, like yeah. Yeah. Stupid shit like that. Like great movie, but at the same time just very disturbing.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Probably like
Just
the
it's
90s.
disturbing.
Yeah.
Early 90s, yeah. When they used to have like the movie of the weekend on Sundays.
Hmm.
Not anymore, sadly. But what do my kids know? They didn't grow up during that time. Sorry. Oh, the sailor's hot. Cheer that.
Whatever.
Huh? I remember as a 8, 9 year old when I first saw this movie, I was like, dude, like she's not like supermodel, but she's not only smart, but she's got like the bod enough to where it's like, yeah, like I would go out to the beach with that every day. Like, is it me or does the color scheme on HBO Max seem totally different from what it would be otherwise?
uh,
It seems darker in some areas
I would say maybe a little bit more contrast
because I don't
to
remember
it.
it being that dark in some areas, like the eyebrow area and everything.
Well, I'm sure it was reformatted for you know HD and stuff. I'm guessing they have the version where it's been was it
I'll
remastered.
I'll have to check my DVD and Blu-ray here of the film. So hot, man. What'd you take me?
Okay, quit it.
Shh, 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 shh. No one heard that.
And even now, just seeing the CGI of this Brachiosaurus here, it still has aged pretty damn well, even for a movie that's close to 30 years old. By the way, I can't even hear you. Still can't hear you.
Even 30 years later, the CGI of this dinosaur is still pretty good. Did you hear me that time?
Yes.
Okay. Buttons. Welcome to Jurassic Park. I am a CEO, and I give you the double deuce. Because you are a multi-billionaire CEO who has nothing but your own interest at hand. That's a different discussion, though.
With my
I'll
own
show you.
DNA.
I would say something, but you know, it's R-rated. That'd be fun if he slipped and fell. I'm sorry.
But it's kind of is it fun to see at least this part of the building. Well, when it was in ruins, when we see it in different movies throughout the entire saga of the Jurassic Park. Like you'll see it in a third one, and then I'm not sure if it was Jurassic Park, the Jurassic World, or the second Jurassic World.
You'll see it in the Jurassic World. I don't think you see it in part 3, but you do see it in part 4. Yes.
It's like we have some kind of schizophrenic, riddled kind of man here.
Could you tolerate yourself? That's the question. Could you tolerate yourself multiple times over?
And just look at the '90s version of animation there with that little DNA.
Mr. DNA, I'm okay with that. I am okay with it.
It reminds me of that electric bug from those was it power line PSAs from years ago.
I know what you're talking about.
I recently just
don't climb trees near power lines.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
they actually still show that to this day. I'm not joking.
Are you kidding?
I am not kidding because I like recently saw it several months ago when I was at our parents' house on a commercial. It's like you have got to be kidding me.
That's
They're
what
still
you get
showing that.
That's what you get when you live in a state like Iowa. I mean, never climb trees near power lines. Play it safe, little buddy.
Well, you want to know why it's still being shown here in Iowa? Because Mid American Energy.
I'm not gonna comment on that.
I like to know who voiced this DNA type of character.
Well, let's look. Oh, this is my wife's computer. How do I look this up? This is different.
Let
Let's
me
see. Jurassic Park.
voice.
Let's.
See if we-
Okay, here we go. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
From the looks of it here, it shows Greg Burson.
Wow, you did that fast.
Apparently, he passed away July 22nd of 2008.
What's his name?
Greg Burson.
Okay, well, hold on. I'm not
Let me
seeing.
just check
I'm seeing.
filmography here.
All
Yep.
casting. Let me hit
Yep, he
that.
did. He did the. Apparently, the character is Mr. DNA.
Can I find his name? Come on here. Greg Burson, okay. Mr. DNA, okay, let me hit his name.
He did Elmer Fudd for Space Jam there, apparently. Froghorn Lake.
He must have done Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Yeah.
Died at the age of 15. Oh, dude. He was in Mr. Magoo and Phantom Menace.
Oh, he was in Two Stupid Dogs. I remember that cartoon.
Okay, before we get off track, this is depressing. Like,
Yep. I'm minimizing the window there.
Yep. I like. This makes me sad. Like, yep, 59, not 15.
It's one of those mechanical arms that you basically see at the assembly factories.
By the way, there's an arch nemesis here. Guess who it is? Anyone who is very familiar with the Jurassic Park series will guess who it is. No, it's not Buddy.
And even just how the animatronics, or I think it was kind of puppetry too, underneath the table. I like how very detailed that they do the movements of these baby velociraptors.
It's incredible. I mean, regardless of whether you're talking about the baby velociraptor here or the big T-Rex later, I mean, it's incredible.
And I think was it in the Jurassic World? Wasn't this guy guy to the far right
BD
of
Wong.
Grant? Yeah, he was the one that sort of restarted everything, right?
Yeah, he's the son of a bitch, of the series, basically. That's all you need to know. He's even in one part of the more recent trailers of the recent Dominion movie trailers. Who would have thought, by the way? Little did we know in 1993. And in my opinion, the greatest aspect of this particular movie is not so much the portrayal of dinosaurs, even though that is important. It's about the philosophical arguments portrayed within this movie. Otherwise, the rest of the movie, I'm sorry to say, is it's good enough, not great necessarily. Otherwise, when you talk about the philosophical arguments, yeah, great. Um, Otherwise, it's just, monster on the loose type of film.
And yeah, and then here, Grant apparently gets a little bit suspicious as far as questioning what kind of species that was.
You bred raptors. No, that's a patasaurus. Okay.
They stuffed the cow.
Well, you gotta watch, buddy.
I wonder what the cow's for.
What do you think the cow's for? Ah! 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 Oh no! Oh my gosh! Ah! Well, what do you think, Lincoln?
Would have been absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely disgusting. Yep,
At least you don't even see it.
that's okay with me. By the way, is our screen up where you can't see our faces?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Because I don't want people to see my ugly face.
I always do that every time when we do commentaries.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Is it darker there, or is it because he doesn't have the lights on?
Oh, I got a window over here.
Yeah. He's
Plus,
got people that set themselves on fire and, you know, give
plus,
them light.
plus, I'm a hour behind.
Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be getting drunk with this.
Oh my gosh. What happened there?
Killed the cow.
It was giants.
He says who's hungry and Ellie is like, "Oh, I've lost my appetite." But it's like, you know what? The deal that came up did not have a bunch of blood or anything on it, so it's like, how can you lose your appetite on that?
Well, and the one thing that I like about this one is they're dying right in the middle of an area where they have like multiple projections around with a bunch of like data points and pictures of like foliage, no like moving pictures, what have you.
My favorite aspect of this whole thing, other than the philosophical argument, is listening to this motherfucker here, who is trying to sell the park.
You've got Continental very low on this towards the ground there when it's flying. I don't know, like a plane really can't fly that low, or else it's like it'd be losing real, like practically losing altitude there.
We'll have a coupon day or something. Yeah, 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 dude, and we'll also have a Mother Day special. See, to me, the meat and potatoes of this movie is right here in this moment of the movie. It's about the philosophical argument of bringing back creatures that have been long dead for like 65, 66 million years.
And I think that's sort of what Goldblum's character is kind of basically was created for this certain thing, and even in other instances in the entire Jurassic Park universe.
That's true. The only thing is though, his own particular version also involves a chaos theory, which I have some objections about. Say like Ellie continues further here.
Here with Hammond here, he's trying to convince a lot of them to try to kind of be on his side of what he's trying to do.
Which is nothing more than trying to bring in dollars, really. He's a CEO by and large. Bloodsucking lawyer. Thank you. Fucker. Ahem. Oh, sorry, that was the movie. Too bad they didn't fall on the stairs and break their chins, but oh well.
Mm.
Whoops, did I say that out loud? Good job for you, Grant. Stand your ground.
He kind of looked a bit petrified there.
He was like, what the hell is that? What are those things?
Oh man, early 90s vehicles.
Aw, dude, don't get me started.
I think those kind of vehicles there, from the looks of it, is a Ford Explorer.
It is Ford. Whether or not it's Explorer, I don't remember.
It has to be an Explorer. Now let me run away from these people.
I know something that you don't, that these things are going to come out and eat me. Like,
I like dinosaurs.
I like dinosaurs. Backhand him. You creep me out, dude. Look, dude, look, I'm trying to shut the door on your stupid face. Like, shut up. Shut up. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you to shut up in a very polite way. Just shut up. Whatever one I am. Damn it. I wish I hadn't written that book. You know what? I'm gonna shut this door, and that's that.
Be right back, everyone.
You're a little too young for me still.
It just kind of seems like his character seemed to feel a little bit different when it comes when those kids kind of came in to play there.
Can I just say that trying to make a movie from the early 90s into HD is a little jarring?
Yeah, a little bit, because I know there are some that have that little bit, the little grainy
It's the,
thing to
the
it.
artifacts of
Yeah.
the movie. You know, one person I don't miss when he dies? It's the lawyer. Spoilers. By the way, he's one of the villains in Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Hmm.
Oh, spoilers.
What did you say? King Kong? I say King Kong.
King Kong's in there. That spoilers. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Wait,
Yeah.
the giant gorilla?
He's being silly.
As soon as I saw that V, I knew it wasn't the lava source.
That's not true.
Does it actually spit acid?
No, it doesn't. That's not true. False. False. False facts. It was a medium-sized carnivore. It did not spit acid. Did not have a frill.
And they're disappointed. It's
As
like,
they should be.
because they're like, already, this is going to be a terrible park.
Well, when you have snakes on a plane, Mr. Jackson on here, like. I like Butterfingers.
Newman. With a lot of the product placement.
There's not a whole lot of product placement here, really.
Well, that Dr. Pepper there that he's got.
Yes, Dr. Pepper, yes, but that's about it.
Or is that
Even
extra?
then, it's pretty. I don't know, but by regardless, it's very minimal. Really, Hammond. What about your own mistakes? Huh? Huh? Quiet, all of you. Dinosaur Paddock. Mr. Australian. Paddock. I got a rifle. People will love me because I got a rifle later. Otherwise, I have no character arc. But people love me. Isn't that the truth?
Maybe.
It's true. We do like Grant because he's got an arc. Otherwise, everybody else is like, yeah, you could get eaten.
Although Goldblum's characters had quite a few.
It's only because he's very quirky.
Well, because it's Goldblum.
What's that, bud? It means don't touch it because it's electrified. Yes. Dinosaurs eat man. Woman inherits the earth. Genetics and all that bullshit.
What's a goat gotta do?
Goats are funny, that's why.
They use a goat.
Goats are funny, that's why.
Like in Goat Simulator.
Don't remind me. That's not funny at all because it doesn't make sense. Bleh.
How would you like it when you're in the park just trying to wait for a T-Rex and, they put out bait and then they waited until basically nightfall,
Do you
being
really
stuck
want to?
in a vehicle all that time?
Do you really want to wait for a 6 to 7 ton predator to just come like peekabooing out of the forest there and be like, "Boo! I'm gonna eat this thing." Like, do you really want to see that? I mean, I'm sure you would crap your pants if you saw that. Like, I wouldn't want to see that.
Hmm.
I'd be like, no, dude, I don't want to see that. The thing's gonna scare the piss out of me. Now that's really matters, sadly, which I think is one of the m- and one of the negatives of the film, in which it tries to provide you with something interesting with the story, but no, it doesn't matter, sadly. Which is part of the reason why I have a problem with this movie, in which that, other than the general philosophical argument that was held during lunch, much of the movie is just complete and utter nonsense. Same place again. Okay, well, none of this matters later in the movie, nor does it matter in The Lost World Jurassic Park, nor does it matter in Jurassic Park 3, nor Jurassic World, nor Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Ian Malcolm, you're so full of poop. You hanky panky motherfucker.
How much would I bet you that that was improvised and he was actually trying to hit on her, and they were like, "Okay, let's just put this in the film."
I'm willing to give you a 50-50. I'm willing to give you a 50-50. I wouldn't put past Goldblum either. By the way, I probably would have done something similar.
Boy, look at all that trash around Newman's desk there.
What a fat fuck. Back in the days of 3.5s. Yeah, well, no one cares what you think, Timmy. Backhand. Oh! This was fully illustrated. Yeah, well. Are you dumb? Do you need pictures to explain shit, That means you must be dumb, son. That's okay, let him get impaled.
Timmy!
Die! Is that? Come on, it's okay. And the Triceratops stands up and impales people. I'm scared. I will agree with a lot of people that it's a damn shame that we've never had like a Triceratops versus T Rex type of fight in the Jurassic World series.
The only thing you get is T Rex v Velociraptor, Spinosaurus v T Rex.
V Indominus v Giganotosaurus. It's interesting. She knows more than you do, and you're hired to take care of the animal. I'll grow up to be a porn star. I mean, whoops. Come on, Sattler. Give me a break. No, it's just flowers. No,
It looks like cacao beans.
that's off limits, ma'am. Okay, like here's one of my problems with this movie. As much as I love it, one of my problems with this movie is that it has the issue of the stereotypical Mother Nature interference, and without that interference, we wouldn't have what we would have later. And
Everyone's favorite meme.
yeah, that's one big pile of shit.
How would you love to do that?
I deal with cat litter every day, so
Well, actually digging in through poo.
I deal with cat litter every day.
She carried a rat.
She didn't carry a rat.
Look at all the old school computers.
Oh, damn, dude. Like, I remember back in the day, it was like, oh, dude, this is awesome. And now I'm like, ha!
Boy,
JavaScript.
I was taking a look at a little bit of info for Jurassic Park. I can't believe the budget for this movie that they initially
150
had.
million?
No,
210.
no,
250.
nope,
280.
nope.
What is it?
63 million.
Huh!
And
So,
it grossed just over $1 billion. That
Take
is a
60
lot.
take 63 and do the inflation calculation for today. What would that be in today's money?
Okay, let's see here. Let's see here.
That has to be at
63
least bare minimum
million
double.
dollars inflation. 63 million. Okay, so 63 converted amount 125.
Basically double, yeah.
Yeah, because it says price difference just a little over 62. So yeah, about half. And then I want to check here. What was it? 1.034 billion from its box office receipts. Okay, so 1034. 3. Okay, I think I got that. That's just a little over 2 billion in today's amount that I got from its box office. That's quite a bit.
It's a good movie. I'm sorry though. Like, I understand this is like a generational type of movie, but I don't think it's as magnificent as many make it out to be. But I will say this, it's better than Star Wars. Shots fired. Because the original Star Wars was pretty awful, minus some of the effects work.
I didn't quite understand it at the time when watching this movie, with me being, was it 7 years old when this movie came out. So I'm probably guessing he was like some kind of insider trying to steal DNA for like the cartel sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is never fully explained. I mean, in many ways, in terms of how it's illustrated, you're supposed to infer that he's obviously stealing this for a third party candidate, which is what Dodson is a part of. Um, but that's one of the problems of this original film that I think many people overlook is that it doesn't really set up what um what um for lack of a better name, Newman um sets up to do, and that's a problem. That is a real problem.
Mm-hmm. And hence why we have the events that are going on with the Jurassic Park universe with Jurassic World and up to basically now with
Which I
Dominion.
mean, which I mean is fine, but the problem with that is that nothing from part two and part three is connected from this moment. And that's an issue. That's a problem.
Yeah, I recognize that scene.
How do you screw that up, dude?
Like I don't think it's that bad of a typhoon.
Yeah, like east, like yeah, good job. You fixed that.
You did real good.
Click, 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 click. You didn't say the magic word. Please. God damn it. Oh, Sam Jackson, you're only gonna get dismembered later. Yeah.
Okay.
Sam Jackson a goat. Sam Jackson a goat walk into a bar. What do you get? A T-Rex that's hungry.
Goats in a bar. The sequel.
Kids get scared, dude. They're like alive. Like, what the hell's your problem? Like, I don't know. They got the lawyer, dude. Like, they're fine. Yeah, well, like your mother was a Chinese, Too bad your mother was a Hollandaise flower gatherer.
Boy, there's some really cheap night vision goggles.
But back in 1993, shh. Sure, I'll take a drink.
I will be right back again, everyone. I cannot see anything in your house except you, Jason.
I can't hear anything.
Boom.
And the one thing about this specific thing, I kind of liked how they did it, and I know I've seen parts of the behind the scenes for that specific sequence where they had someone underneath the Jeep there, actually, and I think it was a violin or cello strings or something like that that's attached to the vehicle. And they did, you know, flick the string of it to get that vibration type of effect for the water there in the cup.
I remember coming up in a few seconds here when you see the goat leg spoiler. That was like a big gasp moment. Right, yeah, right there. This whole sequence to me is like the best moment of the entire movie. Rexy. Fuck you. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, because he's a scaredy cat.
If I were Jeff Goldblum, I'd go in and be like, "Look, dude, like, here's some Pepto. Like, do you need anything?" No. Even 30 years later, like, a lot of these effects still hold up.
Oh yeah.
Really rough stuff on my knees. And I saw that car and the T-Rex toy apart.
I know you did, bud.
As
I know. I look, Lincoln. Lincoln. I understand.
Boy, do you really want to do that?
Well, you know, it's not a movie until you get some people that are stupid.
Yeah.
Turn the light off. Ah! Light? What is a light? What is a dinosaur? What is
What's
a
a
meat eater?
T-Rex?
What is like death? What is being eaten by a dinosaur? What is Jurassic Park?
What is life?
Let's get all Aristotle on ourselves. You know, when you see the entire series, like I look, this was big deal back in 1993, but it's nothing now. Like you understand the stakes that happen later in future movies. Like this is kids stuff. It's like, yeah, you know, T Rex going after people, but it's not like the Indoraptor or the Indominus or
But you also got to think, with it being the early 90s, they didn't have quite the advanced technology or the cinematography
I
that we
understand
have
that, but it's
today.
like it still seems like a small bit of pedestrian. Like it's just like, yeah, T Rex. I'll see your T Rex and one up you, the Spinosaurus. Like, I used to have the card set of this. Not anymore. It's mud.
No, it's poo.
It's a flare, dude. Ah, son of a bitch, he's gonna die. Oh! Well, that, like, messed me up.
Okay,
Oh!
get a hold of yourself, dude.
Shh. I like lawyers. Gotta see her, dude. This is one of the dumbest things. Even back in 1993, when I was like 7, 8 years old, I'm like, this is one of the dumbest things ever. Where it's like, don't move. It can't see us if we don't move. It's like, no, dude, that's not how the T Rex operates. Like, the T Rex can still see you. It's not that dumb, nor like. That was one of the things that I always hate about this movie. Now, granted, I understand in the year sense that these dinosaurs aren't pure dinosaurs. They're dinosaurs that have been infused with frog and other reptile DNA to be brought to life. But to be passed off as pure science is a problem that I have. That'd be funny if he just like shoved her off and was like, ha ha! I hate to say it, but like that whole sequence is not as exciting as it once was. I mean, I'm serious. It's not. Like, on some level, it provides some excitement, but not to the extent that it did back in 1993.
Well, and I think too, uh, when you watch it quite a bit over the years, and or when you
I
haven't seen it for a long time and then get back to it, it's
I
like it
don't
just
think
seems a bit different as
I
you get
think it's
older.
more about how action now is portrayed
Well, yeah, because
now versus what it was then.
with a lot of the superhero and some of the other thriller type of movies that we've been getting recently, I mean, you're just kind of um how to put it
Adrenaline rushing.
no gosh what is the right word for it it's not used to it but
Accustomed.
sort of the
Like,
word I was getting at, kind of more accustomed to it, to today's stuff compared to movies that we've seen from a long time ago and just comparing it to the movies of today. Sort of like if you're comparing movies from the 50s or so to things from the 90s and today as well. I would like to know how he would got in there. In honesty, because the other door wasn't even open at all. Oh, you missed out on that Dilophosaur Newman scene there.
Oh, you mean the unscientific part of the movie?
Yep.
The one where the dinosaur is like twice as small as it is and actually does something that it wasn't actually intended to do, which is to have a frill and spit acid, which it never did.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing too that I mentioned uh, before you came is that I don't know how I got into that Jeep when that Newman guy got in there. No.
For anybody who is wondering, on the visual level, I am telling Jason the timeout marker.
No.
Like,
No.
you're not
No.
supposed to think about it.
No. It's legit.
No, I'm serious. Like, I
Oh, I'm
understand your
serious too.
no. Hear me out. I understand that your concern is legitimate, but at the same time, you're not supposed to think about it either.
Well, I am thinking about it, and you're a piece of garbage.
I've been called worse, so I've been called worse.
Yes, I know.
How do you know? I won't tell anyone you threw up. Well, I will, and I will make sure that you're the laughing stock of the school. So, there. Why would he think that throwing up would be a big deal? Like, even back in 1993, I never understood why him saying he threw up and that being a big deal would be something that, like, for whatever reason, his peers would think he was less than. Like, I never understood that in my life, whether through real life or through stories. I never thought, like, people made fun of each other. I know you're telling me to time out, but I'm like,
You're not supposed to think about these things, Kent.
I know that's the thing though. Like, that's the thing though. Like, I never heard until this movie. I never heard about people throwing up being something that was considered less than. You know, like you
Well,
were like you were a wussy or anything like that. Like, I never thought of it as such. It's so strange. Like, it just was. It never even now, like even 22 years later, it still confounds me. Like, why would this be something that would confound people?
I like how it's typhoon and it already stopped raining. At least it's more legitimate than yours.
It's got 5 toes. It's mutating. I like the calf high socks. I'm sorry, but I just I'm sorry. Is it wrong of me to like really have rooted for his demise? Because I think in many ways that would have served the story, not just in this movie, but future movies better.
No.
Ah, well, you're wrong. God, dude, like I love seeing the back of those legs. She's hot as fuck, dude. Get out of my screen. You're not attractive enough.
T-Rex is heavy enough to put footprints in cement.
He's all
No, it's
alone.
not cement, it's mud, bud.
Mud bud.
It's mud, bud. This is one of those moments where I'm like, the adrenaline is rushing. It's like, oh my gosh, the T Rex. You know, that, like, it's one of those moments that I'm like, oh man, like, let's go.
A different kind of car chase scene.
Stay off the stick, bloody move. Bleh. I don't think a T Rex would have done that, to be perfectly honest. I have a bit of a problem with that chase. Bar.
Nope, I'm not.
Back in 1993, all this was acceptable, but then you look at it from a more contemporary lens, it's like, meh.
Okay, stop. Seriously.
Oh, for Pete's sakes, Tim.
Reminds me of Land Before Time.
Yeah, but no one's that stupid. Right, Timmy? No one's as stupid as you. You're right, Dr. Buh.
You sound like a cow.
I'm sorry. As much as I love Dr. Grant, that's a bunch of bull. Oh, I hate the other kind of. Who doesn't? Stupid son of a bitch. That'd be funny if he got annoyed and just like was like, stupid kid, I'm just gonna push you down.
Someone's
Brachiosaurus, I bit them in half. And
like something's poking my ass. Oh, it's this.
Sodomy. I don't know, sodomy. Oh, for fuck's sake. Not. are not.
Those are quite the dad jokes.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Are you gonna stay up all night? Nope, I'm not. If the dinosaur eats you, they eat you. Not my fault.
Look at all them merchandise.
Merch.
Seriously.
Merch. Let's hide behind a pillar and be dramatic and face you across the table with ice cream. Malcolm's okay for now. Otherwise, everybody else is dead, assumingly.
It's like he's eating a big old bucket of ice cream.
I
Like-
would.
A few of them. Looks like, was it
I would.
like 2 big buckets and 3 like extra large buckets, and then 3 like decently sized cartons of ice cream.
I would. I would. That's like 4.5 buckets, roughly. It's
Well,
funny you tried doing the
there's
math
another
on that.
one. There's another
I
one
know.
behind that big bucket. Jeez Louise.
He must be very upset.
Well, you can't touch everything.
Giddy. Slippity doo doo. Does this seem like softcore to you, or like?
Beyond
Look,
your reach.
on some level, I get what they're saying, but because of what has happened prior and even after, I cannot fully accept that threat because I don't think this movie sadly lives up to that threat. I mean, it sort of does with the T-Rex, but even what we just said here about 10, 15 minutes ago, like the T-Rex moment was fun, but it's not as threatening as it was. And I think if you either redid it or you made the T-Rex more of a consistent threat, maybe you could up the ante there. I just don't think what the movie is trying to do succeeds at that point, if that makes sense.
Vegisaurus.
Vegisaurus, what a stupid moron. Yeah, he's a special kid. Very special kid. Like, He deserves a blue ribbon for just showing up every day. I'll give him a blue ribbon. Then I take the blue ribbon out of his backpack every day. Just be like, you don't deserve this, kid. Is anybody paying attention to me?
I think you need some water, dude. Oh, gross.
I don't think it's that bad.
But that is very gross.
Sounds like my two kids. I have an issue here because the eggs look too pure white here. The problem is that they find it here, and then if you remember Jurassic Park 3, there's a moment after the initial Spinosaurus attack, they find raptor eggs that are similar, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like what's going on?" Like it's the exact same thing that they're finding out here.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a different movie for a different time. Life found a way and we're gonna die. And I'm happy about that. Nipple man.
Think he can do the Michael Jackson pose?
Hee hee.
Moonwalker?
Hoo! Dun 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 dun
Okay, stop.
No, you started this. Now you gotta finish it.
Nope.
Hee hee. Oh, shut up, Muldoon. You amateur punk.
Boy, look how skinny Sam Jackson was at the time.
Hey, we don't talk about Sam Jackson as body image. That's an unspoken rule.
Well, no one told me.
Unspoken rule. All right, Sam. I'll follow. I can't. My hands aren't big enough.
What did he say?
Hold on to your butts.
Beepity beep beep beep.
Is this like Kent punching computer screen ready?
You know you don't want to talk about it.
You mean to tell me you didn't know this ahead of just a bunch of flibber flabber?
Stampede.
Gallimimus. There you go. Yeah, they're fucking this way. Very much fucking this way. Very much fucking this way.
Okay, we get it.
Fucking. Oh. Is it me or did those Gallimimuses definitely like more like CGI creations?
Well, because they are.
Yeah, but more so than what they did back in the day.
I don't know. Stay down.
I'd sacrifice a boy. For the gods. Yeah, well, John, like, how much of the Twizzlers story you're telling is how much is that true? Right, Lincoln? Are you with me? Are you with me?
It's
Is
like
it me
they're
or
in a
does this
complete war.
movie or does this movie seem longer than it should be?
Mm, I don't know. I think so far it seems like it's a bit shorter. Because, like,
Really?
apparently we're 3/4 of the way through already.
To me, I mean, I understand we took a little bit of time talking about it, but it's like,
Mainly you.
well, because I think this movie deserves scrutiny. It just seems like this movie is taking longer than it should. Shooter, shooter. All
And
right,
plus,
shooter.
you're a little bit drunk.
I always found this funny because he took off his hat. It's like, oh, now we're serious. Like he took off his hat for a moment.
Well, and then put it back on to make it
Oh,
look
I
like.
know, but just the fact that he took it off, it's like, oh my gosh, we're serious. Like,
And then showing the barrel of the gun there with the camera moving.
to
And
be
then showing
perfectly
his
honest, I
serious face.
never like looked at the gun itself. It was just a matter of what he looked like. Run. Go. Now. Arr. The funny thing is she ran for nothing. No raptors, no nothing. And then Mr. Arnold, spoiler alert, has his arm cut off. I'm sorry, but 30 years later, I look at this movie and I'm like, yeah, it was a big part of our generation, but it's still it's not as magnificent as people make it out to be.
Well, was it with this scene here, where they climb up and then go climb back down? Couldn't they just go through some of those big old holes in the fence there?
Shh. Oh, no! Oh, I thought he was getting electrocuted. I'm sorry. I mean, look, part of it is, yeah, due to the fact I've seen this movie enough times over the last 30 years to be like, meh. But looking at it from a historical standpoint, too, it just, boy, I like some of the decisions made. I still don't think they hold up. I just don't.
There's so many pipes.
I'm sorry, but they're just some of the decision making and writing for this movie. I'm sorry, this was a big movie for our generation. I still think there are some decisions within this movie that are just complete and utter BS. Even when I saw this back in 1993, I'm like, nah.
And I think this was the same year when the live action Flintstone movie came out.
1994 was when Flintstones came out. Sounds like they're describing me. Large, flat, and gray. Okay. All right, Ellie, you got me going. Well, that's not how I operate, but go ahead. Ah, no.
Just climb down.
I'm sorry, but spoiler alert to the next 30 to 45 seconds, he should have died. I'm sorry. He should have, considering how everything goes.
It's always the last one.
Movie drama. He's far enough down. He could have jumped and been fine.
But how
Get
is he
down,
slow,
dude.
though?
Because he refuses to move. He should have actually died. He really should have. That's good because that's realistic. I like the light bulb searing on top of its head.
I mean, it shouldn't be that hot that quickly.
Oh boy. hunk of man there. He got his arm taken off. Again, like 30 years later, some of this drama just, I'm sorry, it just doesn't register the way that it did back then. I know, but certain things
Thinking
like
too much,
no,
Ken.
no, no, no. Look, here's the thing.
No,
Like I can no, no,
mm-mm.
no, 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 no,
No,
no, no, no, no, no,
mm-mm.
no, no. Let me make
Nope,
an example. Hey, no,
nope.
let me
You're
make an
thinking too
example
much.
here.
Nope.
I can watch the 1933 King Kong and still find moments of like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen here, even though I know what's going to happen. This movie doesn't quite do that anymore because but I hate to say this. I'm going to use the P word. It's pedestrian in some areas.
Look at the snake.
It's all right. No one roots for the kid. Damn.
Hello.
Hello, Jello. There's Jello. Hello. That'd be funny if he just slammed his head on the table and is like, live, damn it. Ray Lincoln? What a piece of ass that Alan Grant is. I look at that and I'm like, holy smacks, I want to eat that.
I
And
like to know.
that right there,
Actually,
that right there.
I would like to know how long some of that food was sitting out.
Shh, you asked too many questions.
It's a lot better than what you were trying to explain earlier. So yeah. So shut up.
Shh.
You shh. It's like I've got subtitles going on right now since
You
my
do?
volumes is down a little bit, so I can kind of understand what they're saying. And in one of the side subtitles, it said raptor purring. And then
Of course
purring.
it did. Of course it did. Of course it did. It's
No,
like
you
how
didn't.
I would expect that from how it would describe my cat Hershey.
Welcome to Earth.
Yeah. Welcome to Earth. Click. Unless raptors know how to open doors. Oh, clickety clack. Look at that. Carnosaur times 2. Oh, smack. Are those meaty metasauruses? Yeah, Lex, you dumb? Yeah.
Of course, it is a velociraptor and it's inside.
Giggity. Ah! Whoa!
Calm it down.
Just, subtitling. Closed captioning. Have you seen a Target where they have kind of this toy set where it's about Lex and Tim avoiding the velociraptors? I forget exactly what it's called, but it's like kitchen. I don't know. What do you
What
call it?
the
Like,
hell are you talking about?
it's a toy set where it's Lex and Tim, and it's got at least one of the velociraptors, and it's called like kitchen avoidance or something like
I
that.
have no idea.
Stupid idiot. I can say that because I know better.
Sure. Heck, the raptor should have gotten him long ago there.
Yeah. We're not supposed to address that here.
Well, we did.
I know. Hey. Whatever, dumb kids. Kill them. Make our lives better. No, don't save them. Make our lives better by letting them die. Oh, smack. Who would have thunk? I'm sorry, but even a velociraptor opening up doors 20 years later, sorry, is still kinda funny. I know this.
Do you?
Yawn. I'm sorry, but even 30 years later, it's like none of this is exciting as you get from the later movies. It just isn't. Because you have Unix and you're just like, bore, 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 bore. Like old system, old system, old system. They're okay. Bullshit.
because in a couple scenes or so after, if I can remember, it goes through the window. Get in the chopper!
Oh my gosh. Grant! Grant! Grant, you Scottish bastard! I'm not Scottish, I'm English. Oh, you bastard! Arg.
Digi dinosaur.
Adenine, guanine, tyrosine. It's DNA running all over it. Get it?
Nope.
That was if you've seen the behind the scenes, that was a stunt double, and they had to put the real actress's face over the stunt double's face there.
Which was pretty high tech for that time. Especially
Yeah.
when, what was it? Shoot.
1993, 1982.
I forget the process for today. What they call it
Composition.
now. Not sure. I think it might have a different name.
I'm sorry, but this movie isn't the same as it was in 1993. It just isn't.
Oh, with it being around for a long time, and then when you're growing up, watching it, but also at the same time when you get older and
It's
have
just I'm
sort of a different mindset to it.
well,
And
I just
and
think
also being spoiled by all the all the movies that we have for today, like I mentioned earlier.
well, that's what
You're
I'm saying.
sort
I
of
think the
used to
definition
it.
of action is so much different now. Like even if you're watching this for the first time, like very little of this I would think would be pulse pounding.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden the T-Rex shows up out of nowhere without warning. I'm kidding.
And he hits a home run.
Rexy. I mean, I'm sorry. As much as I enjoy this movie, it's not the masterpiece that so many of us want us to believe it is. It just isn't. I mean, I'm looking at it 30 years from the moment it was released, and while it's still a good movie, I can't quite endorse it as a great movie. Like Jaws, I still think is a great movie because it is the type of movie that can stand the test of time. Jurassic Park, for whatever reason, and maybe because it's the type of action that it encompasses, it's just a movie that can, on some level, be replicated on some level, and mm, I hate to say that, but I think it's true. Like what we saw there at the end with the T-Rex versus the Velociraptors, and then with the general Velociraptor action in the kitchen, and then you had the T-Rex action in the park or during the rain. Like, it's not what it was, and it's mediocre.
Well, that's the
All
end of it.
right. Michael Christian,
Okay.
based on a novel by Michael Christian.
Well, David Coop, I know I've seen that name before.
All right. Well,
Okay,
you
transition
gonna get
over.
your you gonna get your teeth brushed? Go get your teeth brushed.
Okay.
That actually seemed longer than I thought because that's a movie that's like 2 hours long, and it seemed like it was 3 hours. Um,
So, yeah, after seeing this in full length for the first time in many years, I would say that it's much different than I originally thought it was, and it seemed actually quite short for what it was, and even some of the like the whole uh, kind of main meat and potato of it from T-Rex escaping and then going on the whole path with Grant and Timmy and Lex there and so on and so forth. It just felt a bit short. Like we're on the island a bit short. That's what it felt like to me. But yeah, and as we mentioned about it, action during this time period when it was released was much different compared to what what we deal with today as far as how action goes. And with action, with a lot of Stallone and Schwarzenegger movies, with all the shoot 'em up type of action thriller uh, movies, today's sort of same thing is much different now compared to those times. So a lot of the things changed, when it comes to all the cinematography, practical and visual effects. So that sort of changes too with something like this about 30 years later. So yeah, with that, it just seems a bit short, and yeah, it just feels different this time around after seeing it for the first time in many years.
um, it's definitely different. Like, this is the first time I've seen the movie all the way through since 2015. So you're talking nearly 7 years. I still like this movie, but I don't necessarily hold it in as high of regard as some of my other peers of the period because there are a number of peers, and I could name names, but I'm not going to, that look at this movie as sort of the um
Masterpiece that it is.
masterpiece that they believe it is. And look, I understand that this movie, in terms of its representation of dinosaurs, is important as being hot blooded, very active creatures. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. But the fact that the dinosaurs take very much a um step back to the human action, I think cannot be understated enough. And the fact that the dinosaurs are more like second class to everything else. And I think the best part of the movie comes when they have their lunch after that initial raptor encounter where they drop that cow into the raptor paddock, and then they start talking about like the philosophy of whether or not you should be bringing these creatures back, and do they have rights, and if so, what are those rights? um to me, that is the most important and most interesting aspect of this movie. Everything else that comes after is nothing more than just a slice of what could be. And I sort of hate to say that because there's a part of me that would love to have this movie as the sort of defining masterpiece of our generation. But when I try to be very honest with myself, it's like this is very amateurish on so many levels. I think the sequels, to be very honest with you, in terms of how it handles some of the, not just the action, but the overarching
The lore.
lore, does better than this film. Sure, some of the philosophy that is presented in this film, I think, goes deeper than what we get in some of the sequels, but I think the sequels, when you take them all together, bring that aspect and that story and those questions together. Um, and you know, I do love Jurassic Park. Do not get me wrong. I just sort of have a tough time looking at it as the defining moment of my generation's film that so many else look at it. Um, I just do. Like, I do think it is a defining movie, but I am hesitant to call it a defining generational movie. Um, and it's tough because I think this movie, again, on a couple of levels, is important, but in retrospect, it looks so pedestrian than what it did back in 1992, 1993. And I understand, like, you have to take a movie for what it was at its time, but even then, certain movies can go beyond that. Like a 1933 King Kong can go beyond that. Like, we understand that the 1933 Kong is stop motion. It's a type of special effect that is so archaic that we get it. But at the same time, we can appreciate it because it's still a very meticulous, very time consuming art that requires your attention and focus to master. And for something like Jurassic Park, even though, yes, the digital effects of the T Rexes and the Raptors required your attention, it's not to the same degree as having an armature of a gorilla or a dinosaur there. And I think on that level, there is something less spectacular about it. And I hate to say that because I do love this movie. Back in the day, I thought this was a defining movie for our generation. And the more I've thought about it over the years, I've realized On some level, it is in terms of its representation of the dinosaurs, but in a large scheme, it really isn't. And that something like Jaws is still fundamentally better and maybe more important in terms of a film than Jurassic Park. And I just sort of hate to say that, but it's just like Jurassic Park now, this first film that we just went through, while I love a lot about it, especially the philosophical ideas that it presents, it's still a film that is very pedestrian and at the same time very skittish to really try to step out of bounds, so to speak, if that makes sense. They try to be extreme in terms of its action, to show what that technology and everything that it can do. And we won't see that for another few years until Lost World, and then even then a few years later in Jurassic Park 3. Um, it's a very subdued film.
Hmm. And with all the action stuff, it kind of goes along the line what I was talking about. That action in those days is probably like riveting and all that stuff during that times, but yeah, just compared to it in today's standards, it just looks pretty tame for all it's worth. But yeah, so all in all, for me, yeah, it's not quite as kind of that really top tier in today's kind of action type of films the way it was back in the early 90s compared to today's, since we're pretty much you know, just so used to the action films of today.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. And I still think in terms of its ideas, it's a film that will forever endure because of those ideas. But when you get down to the nitty-gritty of when the rubber meets the road and you get to the action, it's not quite as exciting. And that's sad because I do remember back during this time, um, this was a big deal. And not so much anymore, sadly. But it is what it is. I mean, I will say this. Look, Jurassic Park is still a big deal to me. It is still very much a defining movie of our generation because of at least the portrayal of dinosaurs during the time, because this was at a time in which so many people thought dinosaurs were slow, sluggish, and dumb. And I think this helped to change that overall for many of those that thought that way. Um, by and large, though, in terms of action, it's okay. But as far as philosophy, it still works. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
And then the story could have been a little bit better, and s- and then as far as the score and everything, that one was pretty good. So,
Yeah, I mean it's still very much a good movie. It's still something that is worth your respect. Um there's and this is just my opinion. There's still a part of me that is hesitant to call it a masterpiece on some level just because I think there are some aspects about it that I think any other director could have accomplished Um, it's just a question of how would they approach the dinosaurs, and all that, and that's just really hard to figure out. Like, if James Cameron would have done this, would he have looked at the dinosaurs as active and hot-blooded as they're portrayed here? I don't know. Name any director that was kind of big and hot during the time. Would they have represented the dinosaurs in the same way at the time? And it's hard to say. I mean, your guess is just as good as mine. But nevertheless, here's the thing: Jurassic Park, still a good movie. I hesitate on some level to call it a great movie because there are just some things that sadly have not aged well, um, up to this point in time. So, with that being said, I do enjoy the film. I still think it's good. I hesitate to call it great, though. And, with that, I appreciate you, though, for listening and hanging out with us for our commentary on Jurassic Park.
Yeah. So with that, just hit the subscribe button and make sure to hit the like button as well if you're watching us on YouTube. And so this day forward, we're only streaming exclusively on YouTube and Twitch instead of the other ones that we've done in the past. And we've got our audio versions of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn as well. And you can find both video and audio versions of our episodes, and you can watch us live at our own website at daikaijunetwork.com. So with that, we will see every one of you in a couple weeks. So with that, take care.
Take care. Thank you for listening.